done in the past and what he's doing right now. And I believe that God has great things in the future, not only for new fellowship, but for all the churches in this country. How did I make it all these years? How did I make it before? Through the valley and over the hills. You know it had to be gone.
Oh, Lord God, we want to remember the Floyd family, Lord God, and
Minnesota, Lord God, who lost a loved one unjustly, Lord God. We pray, Lord God, that your comforting spirit will be with that family right now, Lord God. But then we pray for those, Lord God, that are out amongst the cities all over this nation right now. Yes. Lord God, we don't need to set our country afire, Lord God. But what we do need to do, Lord God, we need to get down on our knees, Lord God, and humble ourselves before you and call on you right now. In the name of Jesus Christ, Lord God. Oh, Lord God, we need you more than we ever needed you before, Lord God. And so we just call upon you to bless now, Lord God.
Bless right now.
We pray, Lord God, that you will heal, Lord God. Heal, Lord God. For what this country needs now, Lord God, is less talk and more of you, Lord God. Lord God, help us to seek your face and to turn from our wicked ways, Lord God. Oh, Lord God, we just thank you, Lord God. We thank you, Lord God, that 2,000 years, Lord God, 2,000 years ago, Lord God, you sent your son, Jesus Christ, to die for the sins of the world, Lord God. And Father, we just thank you now. Lord God, as we prepare to hear the preach word, Lord God, we pray that you would bless our pastor, Lord God. That you would crown him, Lord God, right now, from the soles of his feet to the top of his head, Lord God. Oh, Lord God, we're looking for a rhema word today, Lord God. We want to hear what thus says the Lord. And then, Lord God, we ask that you just bless those that are here under the sound of my voice.
Yes, Lord.
And before we leave this place, Lord God, we're going to ask you for traveling grace and mercy to our many destinations. For it is in the mighty, magnificent name of Jesus Christ that we pray. And let us all say amen.
Hella glad to be back in the house of the Lord this morning. I don't know about you, but I done praised this holy night. Amen. Not only did he kept me all week long, but early this morning he woke me up and started me on my way again. Oh, what a mighty God we serve. Amen. Not only did he keep us through the week, amen, but he blessed me yet right now. How many just want to praise God this morning? How many just want to shout out his name, Jesus? Because he's worthy of our praise. You know, we all been going through this pandemic. But one thing about it, I'm still going to praise God. And the reason I'm going to praise him is because it's in my heart. Amen. To serve him until I die. to serve the Lord. I don't know about you today, but one thing I do know, that it got to be in your heart. Because there's going to be some storms, some trials, and some tribulations that's going to come our way. But when it's in the heart, you can go another day. When it's in the heart, you can get on your knees and still pray to the Father who's in heaven. When it's in your heart, I don't care how much sadness that we may come about. I don't care how much sadness that we may face in this life. Somehow when God's word is in your heart, it has a way of bringing joy to your spirit. And I don't know about you today, but how many know that when it's in your heart, God has a way of bringing joy in the midst of sorrow? I'm going to ask you today, as we get ready to go into the Word, to turn with me to 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter. 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter. Verse 5 through verse 15, if you will. And I need to read it as it is written, because this passage to God's people need to be able to see and to hear what was going on in their lives. God's people was living in a time of crisis, and they needed to hear a word from the Lord. Yes, sir. If you will, verse 5, and it reads, And Jehoshaphat stood in the congregation of Judah in Jerusalem, in the house of the Lord, before the new court, and said, O Lord God of our fathers, art not thou God in heaven, and rulest not thou over all the kingdoms of the heathens? And in thy hands is there not power and might, for that none is able to withstand thee? Art not thou our God, who didst drive out the inhabitants of the land before thy people Israel, and gave it to the seed of Abraham, thy friend forever? And they dwelt therein, and have built thee a sanctuary therein for their name, thy namesake. If when evil come upon us, as the sword or the sword judgment, or pestilence, or famine, and we stand before thee in thy presence, for thy name is in this house, and we cry unto thee in our affliction, then thou hear from heaven and help. And now, behold our children of Ammon, and Moab, and Mount Seir, whom thou wouldest not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Egypt, but they turned from them and destroyed them not. Behold, I say now, they reward us to come and cast us out of thy possession, which thou hast given unto us to inherit. Our God, oh our God, will thou not judge them? For we have no might against this great company that cometh against us. Neither know we what to do, but our eyes are upon thee. And all Judah stood before the Lord, and their little ones, and their wives, and their children. Then upon to Hezekiah, son of Zechariah, the son of Benaniah, the son of Juel, the son of Methaniah, a Levite of the son of Asaph, came the Spirit of the Lord in the midst of the congregation. And he said, Hearken ye, all Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou King Jehoshaphat. Thus said the Lord unto you, Be not afraid, nor dismayed, by reason of the great multitude. For the battle is not yours, but it's God's. For the battle is not yours, it is the Lord's. How many know this morning that the battle is not yours?
it is the Lord. I was reading this passage, and here we will find in chapter 20 that the children of Israel, the southern kingdom, Judah, had gotten themselves in a situation of war. For their enemies, the nations of Moab and Ammon in Mount Seir, and had come against them. But the king of Judah, Jehoshaphat, had did something in this moment that was spectacular. It was remarkable. When the enemy came against him, he remembered what had happened to him in a few chapters before. He remembered that how the king of the northern kingdom, Ahab, had enticed him to come and to sit with him. And when Jehoshaphat went to the northern kingdom Israel, and as him and Ahab began to talk among themselves, Ahab told Jehoshaphat, he said, I'm having some problems with my enemies. He said, I'm having some problems with Ramoth Gilead. And he said, I want you to come and to go in war with me against them. And as he began to talk to Jehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat sat there and he pondered about what the king said. And as the king began to tell him how he needed him to go to war with him, Jehoshaphat thought about, before I give you an answer, I need to hear what the Lord has to say. And then Jehoshaphat said here, he said, is there a prophet here today? I need to hear a word from God. Then Ahab said, let me call my prophets, and I got 400 of them, and let me see what they have to say. And as they called the 400 prophets, and they stood before Ahab, and Ahab knew they were going to tell him what he wanted to hear. And when they came and they told Ahab, they said, go up, and the Lord will give you the victory. But somehow Jehoshaphat wasn't satisfied. He said, is there anybody else here that is a man of God that can tell me what the Lord has to say? I just believe in my sanctified spirit that God had put in the spirit of Jehoshaphat not to believe these 400 prophets of Ahab. Because Ahab, they were known to tell Ahab what Ahab wanted to hear. But he was looking for somebody that was willing to stand in the midst of opposition and to tell the truth to the king that could take his life. Then the king said, yeah, I got one by the name of Micaiah. And they said, he said, go and get him and bring him here. But you know, the king Ahab said, I hate him. Because he always tell me something that ain't good for me. He don't never give me a favorable report when it comes to giving me vision from God. And then he said, go ahead and call him anyhow. So they sent one of the messengers to get him, and when they got there and they started talking to him, he said, now all the other 400 prophets, they have already told King Ahab to go up because God is going to give him the victory. So I want you to go ahead when you get there to tell him the same thing. But what I love here about Micaiah said, as the Lord liveth, even what my God said, that will I speak. In other words, what he was saying, I'm not going to tell him nothing other than what God tells me to tell him. He said, I know how my life may be taken. I know that I may get myself in a bad situation. But he said, I'm going to tell him what thus said the Lord. And then somehow when he got down to where Jehoshaphat and Ahab was, the king said, go ahead and prophesy to me. He said, oh, thou king. He said, go up, and the Lord is going to give you the victory. And Ahab looked at him, he said, man, I know something ain't right here. He said, you always tell me the bad news. He said, every time you speak to me, I want you to tell me the truth. And then Micaiah said, let me tell you what God told me to tell you. He said, if you go up, Israel will be scattered today. And on top of the mountain like sheep before the slaughter. And as he got through telling him that, Ahab looked at Jehoshaphat. He said, see there, I told you he wasn't going to give me no good news. But when I thought about
about that, you know, we be looking for good news from the Lord, but we hadn't did the things right that we ought to have been doing before him. We look for favor news. We look for somebody to tell us that things don't work out in our favor, but we don't take time to look at how we've been walking with God. We want to hear the word that somebody tells us that God gonna stand in the gap for you. But while we got an opportunity to stand in the gap for God, are we standing with God? Are we telling the world does what the Lord told us to tell them? As I continue to read the story, now here it is, Jehoshaphat had heard what Michaiah had said. And then he started back talking to Ahab. And Ahab, as he talked to him, he said, and this is what I love about this story, Ahab was so cunning, and that's how the devil is. He's very cunning. He said, I tell you what, when we get ready to go to war, now, Jehoshaphat had already heard that God said if you go before them, the sheep would be scattered on the mountain like sheep before a slaughter. And even though him hearing the word that the prophet said, he still went ahead and made an agreement with Ahab to go into battle. And as he was listening, and as the time passed by, he started talking to Ahab. And Ahab said he was very cunning. He said, when we get ready to go to war, he said, I want you to put on your kingly robe. And I want you to ride in your kingly chariot. And I'm going to disguise myself when we go in. In other words, he was telling him, I'm going to let you get some authority today. I'm going to let you get some height today. I'm going to let folks see you riding in the chariot and let you be the king today. And with all Jehoshaphat's wisdom, he still couldn't see the picture. He still went ahead, wasn't listening to what the man was telling him. He was really telling him that I'm setting you up to get you killed. I'm setting you up to take my place of death. But when he started to get ready to go into the battle, and when the battle got hot, the Bible tells me here that when he was riding in the battle, he was riding in his chariot, had all his king priestly garments on. And Ahab knew that they were going to be looking for the one that's riding in the king's chariot. And he knew that they were going to be aiming to get the one that had the power and the authority. So as they rode to the battle, the Bible said here that as he was in the heat of the battle, and they had almost got to where Jehoshaphat was. And somehow Jehoshaphat cried out unto God. He said, Lord, help me. And at that moment when he cried to God, the Bible said God turned the enemy away. And Jehoshaphat knew that God was with him that day. Because if God had not been with him, he would have been died on that day. But somehow when I was looking at that, I went on and I thought about what was still happening in the battle. And the Bible said here that this is how the hand of God will work. When God got a mark on you, I don't care what man try to do, your mark is going to be on who God wanted to be on. And the mark was on Ahab that day. And the Bible said that when Ahab had gotten wounded in the battle, when he got wounded in the battle, he went out of the battle and told his driver to take him to a safe place. And as he sat there all day long and watched the men still fighting, the Bible said he died when the sun went down. And what I'm trying to say today, sometimes God will wound you to keep you around longer enough to see his hand moving against everything that you have established. And I wonder why he didn't die when the arrow pierced him in between his armor. But God let him get to a safe place that he'd be able to see the hand of God. And how God makes a difference between the tyranny of God and the tyranny of Hades. Come on, somebody. God will make a difference. And then when I was looking at this, I went down to chapter 19. And the Bible said here in chapter 19, when Jehoshaphat got back home, and I know he was glad to get home that day, but when he got back home, the Bible said here in chapter 19, when he returned to his house in peace, and then Jehu, the son of Hananiah, the shield went out to meet him and said to the king Jehoshaphat, shouldest thou help the ungodly and love them that hate the Lord? He said, therefore is why wrath is before thee. That's why you got problems in your life. He said, that's why the hand of God almost allowed you to be killed that day. But then he said, nevertheless, there are some good things found in thee. And then he said, and that thou hast taken away the groves out of the land. In other words, when you was doing right by God, you pulled down all of those artificial things that they were worshiping instead of God Almighty. He said, there's still some good in you. And then the Bible tells me in verse 4 here in chapter 19, that Jehoshaphat dwelt at Jerusalem and he went out again through the people. He had a made up mind now that he's going to serve God no matter what. After the incident he had just been in, and he knew that the hand of God was on him. He said, I'm going to go when I get back home. I'm going to make sure I do what God had told me to do. And my Bible said here when he got back home, he went out among the people. And he set up judges in every city, city by city. And he told the judges that when you get ready to judge, you better make sure you do it by the hand of God. Because he said, this is not an appointment from me, but the appointment that you get today is an appointment of God. And he said, when you deal with mankind, you need to deal justly with mankind, like God Almighty deals with us. He said, you need to be truthful. He said, one thing I need you to do when I put you over all of these people. He said, when you hold your courts in your cities, he said, make sure when you hold your courts and make sure when you get ready to judge these folks. He said, whatever you do, he said, don't show no favoritism. He said, don't take no bribes. He said, whatever you do, whatever the judgment is that God gives you when you're judging his people, give them the exact judgment that God has given you instructions in. In other words, don't take nothing from it and don't add nothing to it. And we got to be careful when God has allowed us to take his word to his people and judge between right and wrong, that we don't put our 2 cents in, but tell them exactly what God Almighty said. And the Bible tells me that after he had got himself straight, and after he had set up the kingdom, and after he had went through the community and made sure that all the folk knew that we were going to follow God's word and nobody else's. See, Jehoshaphat, when he got back home, he took this thing serious, y'all. He said, I'm going to make sure that I dot my I's and cross my T's, because God had called me to be the leader of his people. And I can't lead them if I don't know what God has said. I can't lead them if I don't follow God myself. When they follow me, they need to follow God. He said, when I get back home, I'm going to tell them how we going to be able to prosper ourselves. I went over to chapter 20, and the Bible lets me know here that one day when the enemy came, one day when the children of Moab and the children of Ammon came up against, and the Ammonites came up against Judah, the southern kingdom. And here Jehoshaphat had got everybody together in the land. And sometimes, let me just go ahead and tell you, God be giving you time to get yourself together. God be giving you time to put stuff in order. Because I don't care how comfortable you get, the enemy is coming one day. I don't care how comfortable we are, God gonna let trouble come to test us to see are we who we say we are. We can read this all day long, but it don't never get on the inside. All we doing is just reading the story. But when it get on the inside, we reading the Spirit of God into our life. When it get on the inside, we reading the power of God to stand before our enemies. God Almighty, when I kept on reading the story, I thought about what Jehoshaphat did. The Bible said here that he called the whole congregation together. And when they came together before the Lord in the Lord's house, and when they came together and they started to praying to God. And what I love about Jehoshaphat knew how to talk to God. Even though he knew he messed up every now and then, but he knew how to come back to God and get himself lined up with the Lord. He said, now let me tell you, God, what I know you to be. Let me say unto you, God, who I know you is. He said, Lord, when we pray in this place, in your house, Then we pray in power in your name. He said, Lord, when we pray in your house, he said, look here, Lord. He said, oh Lord God of our Father, art not thou God in heaven? He said, I know where you dwell, God. Ain't you the God of heaven and earth? He said, Lord, are you not the one that ruleth over all the kingdom of the heathen? He said, Lord, art you not? And thou hands is down thy power and might. He said, so that none is able to withstand thee. He said, Lord, I know how to talk to you because I know who you are. And when you know who God is, I don't care what shape you're in. I don't care what situation you're in. When you know who God is, I don't care what kind of trouble you got. When you know who God is, you know how to go to God in prayer. And you can pray with power, calling on the internal heaven. And as I kept on looking at this, as he kept on praying, he said, Lord, I know, oh my God, I know, Father, that you're a friend of Abraham forever. And I just feel in my heart that if you kept Abraham your friend forever, I feel in my heart that I'm fit to, that I can be your friend forever, as long as I walk in your will and follow your ways. I came to tell you this morning that every person in here can be a friend of God all your days in your life. If you follow God's will, if you keep His commandments, that's all it takes to be a friend of God. To love God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. Anybody in this morning, don't you feel like trying it? Like you tried it for yourself. You know that He is the El Shaddai. Almighty God, have you tried it? Have you tried it? He's all right with me. Have you tried it? I know He's able. And I looked to see what Jehoshaphat said. I love how he talked to God. I went down to verse 12, and he said, oh, our God, wilt thou not judge them? For we have no might against this great company that coming against us. He realized that by himself, with his own energy, by his own power, he can do nothing against what God had allowed to come against him. But he said, Lord, I know that you are God, and your eyes is upon everything. He said, Lord, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do, God. But we know somebody can step in when we don't know what to do. We know somebody can fix the problem when we don't know how to fix it. He said, Lord, we got a problem now. We far outnumbered with the enemy. They got us 10 to 1. But then, oh God, when I look to heaven, the numbers change. We're no longer 10 to 1. The good God Almighty, we're 1,000 to 1. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I kept on looking at that. And as he was praying, one of the men stood up in the worship service. And I'm going to say worship service because they was having worship before God. They was in the right place, doing the right thing. They was in the house of God, and they said, let's talk to him, but we got some problems. And I thank God, the Bible said that when they were there together, it named off some folk that was there. It wasn't just the men that came. It wasn't just some of the folk that came. But when I went down to verse 13, it said the little ones, their wives, and their children. The men, the wives, the little ones, and their children. I don't know about you, but Jehoshaphat has told them to get your house in order. Get your house in order. The trouble is coming. Thank God Almighty. And what I'm glad about, I remember when we was young. And it'd be storming on the And somehow, Daddy and Mama will tell us to sit down because God is speaking. And they will get us on a group all together. And they will take us in the den and set us on the floor. And while it was storming on the outside, Daddy would pray his prayer and start telling us about how good God been to him over his life. In the midst of the storm, we on the inside talking about God in the midst of a storm. And I'm glad today because those talks like that empower me, my brothers and sisters, to keep on anyhow. No matter what kind of storm comes, they taught us to take this word and believe on it. To take this word and put it in here. Oh, they taught us that we can walk in it and we can talk in it. We can do God's will and still live in this world. I don't know about you, but I tried him before. I know he's able. All right. When he got through interpreting, and he told Ahab and all the folk that was in the church, he said, the battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. And the Bible tells me that after that, thank you, Holy Ghost, the Bible tells me that after they realized that the battle was not theirs but God, they said, tomorrow go ye down against them. In other words, now we going to the battle, but we ain't gonna do no fight. We going to the battle to see what God getting ready to do unto our enemies. And the Bible said here in verse 17, it says, ye shall have no need to fight in this battle. Can I put a pin there and I leave you alone? You have no need to fight in this battle. See, God will let us have some little battles, but this battle was too big for them. So you ain't got no business fighting in a battle that's big into your faith. So what I'm trying to tell you today, God will step in. You ain't got no business fight in a battle that's bigger than your faith. But what I love about this is their faith was bigger than their battle. Because they went down to the battle as they trusted God. And the Bible said when they got down there, in verse 18, Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground. And then all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell down on the ground. And the Bible said here, in the latter part of verse 18, that they worship the Lord. Now wait a minute, Pastor. You mean to tell me that when you go into a battle and you ain't got to do no fight, what you want me to do? Just stand on the sidelines? That ain't what God asking you to do. He said, I want you to be like you just came to a football game. I want you to be, I know you got a team that's on the field, and all you doing is sitting in the stands. But don't sit there like you don't know what's going on. He said, I want you to see when God advance on your enemy. I want you to jump up and cheer like you hit that football game, like you hit that basketball game, like you hit that baseball game. He said, when God put a home run on your enemy, when God scored a touchdown on your enemy, when God they got themselves ready. And they took a front row seat. And as they sat there, they couldn't help themselves no more. Because they could see in their imaginary mind what God was getting ready to do to them. And y'all know how it is when God gives you vision before what's happened. And before it starts to happen, you're already happy. Because you already know what the end going to be. You're already happy. And the Bible said here while they were dead on the ground, they started worshiping God. While they were yet there bowed down, and Jehoshaphat faced to the ground, and they there on the when the battle is not yours, then it is the Lord's. And then sometimes God will train us up that when we're not depart from it. He'll let us go through some battles. Let us go through some struggles. Let us go through some hard times. Those little battles is for us to learn how to train ourselves in turbulent time. Those little battles that God sent us to. Hey, He's teaching us how to walk with Him and how to talk with Him. He's teaching us. The main thing, I promise I'll leave you alone. I remember in the midnight hour when something was bothering me and I was a child. And then, especially when my tooth was hurting. And I laid there and cried all I could cry. I would say, Mama, and Mama would come in the room and she would take that iron. She couldn't take the pain away, but she would take that iron and heat it and put it in a rag and place it on my jaw. And then she'll sit with me while I'm in pain. But after a while, I could feel the pain start to ease. After a while, I couldn't hear Mama's voice no more. After a while, when I woke up, I realized I was in the room by myself. And what I'm trying to say, when we got pain in our life, God knows how to come in the room. And He'll take a little something and put on you. And He'll talk with you. And you with Him. And after a while, oh, the night is over. After a while, when you wake up in the next morning, the iron is gone. The towel is gone. And Mama is gone. But when you wake up in the morning, you be feeling all right. Like you ain't never had a acre of pain. That's the kind of God we serve. When trouble comes, I thank God Almighty that the battle is not ours, but it's the Lord. And when you think about that, when you say the battle is not ours, it's the Lord's, He's talking to a select group of people. He's talking to those who love the Lord. Then God will come in and fight our battles. So when we go through trials and tribulations in this life, and we see we're handling things that we cannot handle, that's too big for us, turn our life over to God and give it to God. Then you'll be able to lay down and go to sleep at night. Because I know that my God is able. I thank God for you on this morning. Amen. Thank you for joining us here at New Fellowship Christian Church in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Thank you for continuing to support this ministry. Thank you for all the love and the cards that you have sent our way in the cause. And we thank God that God is keeping us every step of the way during this pandemic. And we're not worried about tomorrow because we know who holds that tomorrow. And we leave with this until we meet again. May God bless you, and we bid you Godspeed.